Welcome back to this amazing, super exciting gamification, gamifying your world podcast. And we are going to talk about fun and how important it is in our lives. Like, seriously, making something fun is just what we seek to do in life. Just like we're bored, fighting boredom is the root cause of so many cool things because why this was invented, somebody was bored and they tried to make it fun.
Yeah.
And that's why you're playing, you're sitting in the grass, whatever, you're sitting with your friends and suddenly you find a pebble and you try to, let's throw it in the trash bin. And then you make a game just to make it fun because the moment itself was getting bored. We our brains in this information era are getting bored easier and easier and easier. And when you make something fun, it has a tremendous impact. So I'm going to start with a story from our last event, and I'm not going to give names, but parallel to the gamification experience, we had some traditional live marketing assets. One of those was a photo op. Photo ops are fun. Like you like to go to events, take pictures and stuff. And we actually invested a lot of money into making an animated overlay that would do this and that into the photo. So guests would scan a QR code and then have an animated photo. And that's what we thought people were gonna go crazy about in addition to the gamification. What happened in reality was that very few people scanned the code. And actually, the few that scanned the code, when the person in front of that activation told us, well, like, no, they thought it was part of the game. The second they discovered it wasn't part of the game, they just, never mind. And they walked away. It was sad because it was our activation at the end, but it showed us like, damn, it was like an override. It like the game itself trumped over other elements of the activation. So now we know the next time we're going to incorporate and make everything part of it. But it was like we had this traditional game live marketing assets as a safety net in case people are not going to be very engaged, but maybe they want to take a picture. It was the complete opposite. They were totally overshadowed. And what is that? I mean, I know there's something called fun theory, and I have read it and stuff, but nothing like it explained by Professor Javier. So please.
Yeah, so fun is a hard word to understand because this one of these words that's really ambiguous by nature, right?
Okay.
So there are words that you understand really easily because they mean one thing, right? They're not full of theoretical background and all of this. You say pencil, and the pencil is a pencil, right? Yeah. But when you say fun, there are many ways of conceiving fun, and that's why things like fun theory exist. It's trying to understand in which moments people can call something fun, and it's really hard actually to try to pin fun down. Actually, as a game designer, I prefer to talk about engagement or stress even. Stress is one of the sources of fun activities. It's fun to stress the brain of the people, but that's one kind of fun. Not everything that's stressful can be fun, and there are some fun types that don't require stressful situations, like passing time with doing activities that are easy and are not hard to solve, for example. So fun is hard, and as a theory, is to try to understand these different kinds. And if you think about it, for example, a photo booth, you can say it's fun, right? It's if you have the photo booth out of context and you only have a photo booth and you go and take a picture and you see these things, these weird things, well, it's fun.
Yeah, it's worked before.
Yeah, it has worked, and it's so fun that there are many of the social media systems where you can take pictures have incorporated many of these photo-booth elements where you have all these transitions and elements to make it more fun, right? That's where the problem begins. The problem begins is with this kind of fun. We're talking about the first type of fun, and we'll call it the easy fun. I'm borrowing the term from Nicola Zaro, her fun theory of 4 keys of fun. And this kind of fun is really hard to sustain because it's about amazement and it's about wonder. And the thing with wonder is that it's short-lived.
Okay.
And that's the problem with that kind of wonder, right?
Yeah.
So if you start seeing photo studios everywhere, even in your phone, it will become harder and harder to push that kind of technology as something novel, right? So
Yes.
you if you had an arcade, but now you have the games in your phone, why would you go to the arcade, right? And now you have the phone booth in your phone, why would you go to the phone booth, right? And that's one of the problems that you have with these kind of systems where they work once and they still work, but the problem is that you get satiated from that kind of fun really fast. And when you find funner activities, things that are more novel, more unfamiliar, more entertaining, you immediately select the type of fun you want. And if you have this great event and this familiar stuff, it's not that it's not fun anymore. It's that it has become familiar. It has become landscape, right? Like in Fun Theory, the one from Volkswagen, I don't know if you remember, the one that had the piano staircase.
Yeah.
What happened with that kind of projects? That the piano staircase is great for making the shot and seeing people interact with it.
Case study.
Yeah, but after a week, no one will be taking that.
Escalator again.
It loses novelty really fast. So easy fun is great, and it's the kind of fun that it's mostly used in these kinds of events, right? So let's make people do things that it will be fun for 10 minutes and they will go away and they will not come back to the booth because I need to, the turnover of people, it's important, and that's something that you have to count for example. But you have other types, and the second type of fun would be the hard fun, right? The fun that's brought by challenge. And that's the one that's more related to stress, right? And to problem solving. And problem solving is something that our brains crave, right? We don't want to solve every problem in the world. We want to solve the problems that we think we have a shot at solving. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
They cannot be so far-fetched or so hard that I will feel like I cannot actually tackle that situation. Games try to bring the things that are hard in a sense, and they play with probability. For example, playing with probability is really fun in terms that luck, it might give you a push towards victory. For example, in places where you might think you're not going to win, maybe luck will give me an edge, for example, right? But when you have this kind of fun, that it gives you a kind of a stress, right? So a stressful scenario can be, I need to find my 5 sunstones before the event ends. And that means I need to complete missions. But to complete missions, I need to build parties. And to build parties, I need to meet more people.
And one guy, I remember that now that you mentioned luck, there was this guy who was super invested in the game, but he had terrible luck. And he wasn't getting any sunstones. So he was getting super stressed. But luckily, he didn't give up. He actually said, no, I'm going to push through it. I'm going to play harder. And eventually he got his 5 sunstones and went above and beyond and ended up being one of the top 5 players. But yeah, luck played a role in that.
And that's one of the controversial parts of fun. When you don't know about fun, you never think about it until you find the example and you see that you have lived that in your own life, and you say, okay, that actually happens. And that is that you have more fun when you suffer.
And this is a teaching opportunity for you agencies out there, and for the clients as well, if you're watching this. And it's counterintuitive.
It's counterintuitive.
And I had to listen it from Javier and then transmit it to the clients, and they didn't buy it. And actually, in our minds, what we think is, oh, I'm going to enjoy this event more if nothing that I don't know happens, and I just go to yet another boring convention, than if they make me do these activities and give me these weird things and I have to do stuff. And it was exactly the opposite. The fact that they had to go out of the comfort zone and do new things was what made it fun. Mm-hmm. So it's counterintuitive. You think it's going to be the opposite way. No, if it's easier, it's funnier. No. And it took me a while, but I now believe in the word of Javier that, yes, actually making it hard. And I remember the first time when you were explaining what a game was to us, like a decade ago. I feel old by saying that. It's like you're walking it and you see that with your brothers, and you're walking in the sidewalk. You're going from point A to point B. How do you make it a game? Make it difficult. Oh, you cannot step on the stripes in the concrete. Oh, okay. Now it's a game. And it wasn't a game because it was easier. It's actually the opposite. It was funnier, and then now it's harder, but you created a game by making friction. Imagine just playing Super Mario Brothers. I was just a flat line. No holes, no little turtles, no brown things. I still don't know. I'm 40 years old, and I don't know what those are. And just running to the flag. That would be the most boring thing in the world.
Yeah,
But you made it fun. You get frustrated, and the frustration is part of the reward system that's gonna come after seeing, finally I conquered the first little world, and then over and over.
And you have described something that Nicolas Sartre called fiero. Fiero is the emotion of failing and failing and failing and finally being able to manage it.
Oh my God, yeah.
And that's amazing. That feels so good. So frustration drives emotion. It's amazing. And this is something that we usually think we need to make people suffer less because that's what fun is. People think fun is making people smile. That's the worst idea around fun that you can have. You don't want people to smile. You want to people in board games. When I play taste board games, I know my board game is fun because people looked bored. It's
Because
weird.
they're thinking.
Because they're thinking, yeah. So they're like this, and you say, okay, if you don't know about this, you think that person is hating this game.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like a chess player, you just say she's hating the game. She's hating it, right? But when you ask afterwards what happened, all the fun was the part of your brain that was processing so much information and so focused that everything else disappeared, even your face expressions. You're so focused that you're like this. And when finally something happens, right, and you have lost and and finally you beat the game, you feel like you actually can measure the achievement. Yeah, it was something I could not do in the past. Now I could do it. That's exciting as hell.
Exactly, and I'm gonna give an example from this past experience of VSOP. So one of the activities we had is we had these cards, and they had to find some stickers to put in the cards and stuff. Like, imagine how boring would have been if, oh, I got the card, I got the stickers, all I have to do is peel them and paste them. That would have been the most boring, less innovative thing. And what happened is, and we mentioned this in another episode, the infamous 10 and 2 sticker who was super hard to get. Like, eventually they would get so much rush from finding it, or yes. And at the beginning we had frustration. I had this amazing lady that came so frustrated. Hey, this is impossible. This is not anywhere. Like, I have talked to all my friends, like, go beyond. It exists. And then she came back, and she wasn't smiling. She was like, in your face. And I'm like, I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rub it in my face. But she was having the best time. And now, but if we had made it easy, oh, okay, don't worry about it. I'll get it to you. Here you go. How fun would that have been? Like, she would have been like, yeah, I have to be demanding. And actually, I was joking with her, and like, you want to talk to the manager? And we're like, are you being a Karen here? Come on. So, and we ended up being super good friends and the best energy ever. But it was because it was hard.
Yeah, I call that the game master paradox, right? and I have always been your game master, and this is the first time you have actually been a game master. And so you have the game of the game master is to make your players hate you enough, but then giving them the right reward. So at the end of the game, they would say, "I loved your adventure."
I thought I was gonna discuss this with a therapist first, but since we're talking about it, I'm just gonna let it out here. It took me like 5 years to get my first Elvish cape playing with you. 5 years of every recess playing Dungeons and Dragons.
You asked for it. I asked for it.
And I was like, what the hell? And I would call our friend who's a paladin has got his magic shield and all that. Everybody's got their two-handed swords and all that. And where's my magic damn elf cape? And yeah, it was so frustrating. I hated him. Still working on it. It's just 30 years of friendship, but yeah, we'll see what happens at 50 years of friendship. But Yeah, you're right. And the second, I still remember what adventure we were playing, and we were 15 years old. This was a long time ago. I still remember that day when I got my first Elvish game. Like, yeah. And just so you know, in Dungeons and Dragons, that's a very cool gadget to get for your character. But I still remember it.
Yeah.
I do have a good memory, but it was a milestone in my life.
Yeah. And the only way of creating that kind of memories is make your players hate you a bit, right?
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, yeah. So you need to understand that it's not about making things great for the player. It's actually sometimes about making them frustrating and then bringing the fun by making them achievable, right?
Awesome.
Randomness is a great way of doing it. For example, we incorporated that into that event. People would throw dice and they could fail missions, but eventually they would be able to actually accomplish things. And that idea of being able to lose and then win creates a sense of fun. So you have here your easy fun, you have your hard fun, and there are other categories. You can have your social fun and you can have your meaningful fun. There are other categories out there. But if you start working around these two, right? Easy fun is an attractor. Think about it.
Yeah.
You have easy fun to make people feel joy at the beginning of the game, but you need to pass from the easy fun to the hard fun eventually so you can create engagement.
And sustain it.
And sustain it. Because from easy fun, you will not be able to get sustainable behaviors. You will not be able to get it. People will get satiated, will stop playing eventually. And this also happens with fun derived by rewards. When you have heavy rewards in a system, people will start playing for the rewards and less for the fun and enjoyment of the activity itself. And you will start seeing how you get something that's called extinction of the behavior, or behavioral extinction. Is if you play for the rewards and the rewards start to matter less and less and less and less, you will stop playing eventually. But if you do it for the challenge, for the exploration, for the new narrative elements, for all these other things that can be incorporated into something like that, because role-playing games work in a similar way into what could happen in a marketing event or in something like this. You just need to bring the correct elements to the table, right?
Exactly.
And that's the idea.
And I'm gonna also play intellectual here because I also have done some research and I presented in my masters and symposiums and stuff. I'm not a professor and I'm not so deep in the academic world, but yeah, the self-determination theory goes all across that bar. It's how do you move from external rewards, apathy and all that, to internal rewards. And why did we play Dungeons and Dragons every day and all that? Because we craved it inside of us. So because of the fun of it, because it was hard, because it was not him just giving experience points over and over. It was like we had to fight for them, but that was what made it really fun. So really, it's like when Alex Hormozzi talks about the scarcity and the urgency and all those drivers that make an offer even more appealing. All those principles are part of this fun. When the most you struggle and fight and you're right. When I was trying to understand why World of Warcraft was so addictive, was because the rewards are high, they're not easy to get, but you see a path. That's when we come to the previous episode on feedback. You know that if you keep doing this, eventually you're gonna get there, and that keeps you going, even though it's not necessarily enjoyable activity. Like, oh my God, do I have to go and talk to somebody else about this? But then you do it, and then the reward is greater. And then you met a fellow colleague and made a new friend and connected. So I think this is something that's gonna set events apart from others. This is a very powerful way to drive novelty into events, into activations, into trade shows. Like, you're gonna stand out way more than with the coolest technology and all that, because that is easy fun. And you have oh my God, this is the coolest machine. And actually, I was in a convention that had this similar Formula One things, and you try it one or twice, and that's it. Or sometimes, it looks like too complex or whatever. This sustains the fun and keeps people thinking about it, and that's how you end up with tables of grown-up men and women trading stickers in the middle of a session because they're changing. Oh my God, it's starting again. Okay, like it felt like a school again, and these were all executives. So I don't know if you want to add anything else, or this could be it.
I just think that when we're talking about fun and to end this season, when you think about fun, it's about understanding that you need to push a little bit the boundaries of your designs because you don't know where the fun will be found, right?
Oh,
So whenever game designers have found new ways of engaging players, it has been almost always because some weird game designer has tried something that people would say that can't be fun. And it's incredible. Like the Wii, why would anyone would like to just start? Well, no, yeah, I mean, it should be an awful experience. People like to sit down with a controller, right? And where is the fun? Is not in the controller per se. Where is it? Trying to understand why the fun happened. That's the really important part. And the only way to create fun and new fun, especially in the easy fun aspect, is to push boundaries. So it requires a little bit of risk taking, of course, in a controlled environment. If you have someone that knows about this kind of stuff, that can guide you through it, that can help you, that has done this research and has tried these things and have failed and done it right, it actually helps a lot, of course. But be open-minded because fun is not where people think it is. And this is really important.
all right. So now you heard it. Go to your trusted local game designer and trust him. And next time you're playing an event, you want to make it super engaging, you want to crush it, you want to impress your clients, your guests, your customers, anyone, go to game designer, trust his process, get feedback, give feedback, help him, because this is a two-way process.
Yeah.
We don't know all that's going on. You know your clients better than anyone else. We know our part. So as a team, we can definitely come up with something super impressive and make you take your agency to the next level. So thank you, and bye-bye. See you in the next episode.